whatever it is I'm doing as a dad are my proudest achievements.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I
yeah.
used to care about MCs. I really don't. And that's how I can make music now with so much of a freer spirit.
Welcome to Create Up with Will Ennis. Create Up. What's that? It's a podcast about how to make a living as an artist. An entire living? That sounds hard. I know. So each episode, I'll interview a different artist about the steps they took to level up and, turn pro. So to create up is to level up creatively. Yeah. Okay. If you know Canadian hip-hop and its rich history, you probably know the name Danny O. In 1996, his breakout single Dear Hip Hop became an instant underground classic. He's since released multiple projects that have solidified him as a Canadian rap legend. His latest album, The Day It All Changed, may be his best yet. Centered around his love for his daughter, it's more honest and vulnerable than he's ever been. And after decades in the game, the seasoned MC is still in top form and the beats hit harder than ever. We cover a lot in this interview. We speak on his career, he gives advice to aspiring songwriters, and we discuss politics, racism, and the state of the world in 2020. I'm Will Ennis, this is Create Up, and here's my talk with the legendary Danny O. Danny O, thanks for coming through today.
No problem, brother. Thanks very much for having me, man.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. I've been following your career since I was in middle school and just Canadian rap in general. I'm a huge hip hop head. And I wanted to talk today about The Day It All Changed, the album you released last year with the remix album came out.
That's right.
But before we get into that, I thought if we could just sort of almost start at the beginning, because you've been making noise in this industry for almost 30 years. I mean, back to 1991, you're 13 and you're winning a rap-off competition on Electric Circus back in the day. And I know even that's not the beginning. So I wanted to ask you, where did your love of hip-hop begin?
Yes, sir. Well, thanks for bringing all that up and making me feel old because, it's definitely been a long time, man. And I have to admit that I am sometimes even taken aback as to how many years have actually passed, man. To answer your question, when I was 5 years old, bro, Michael Jackson released Thriller, and I knew what I wanted to do with my life. Straight up. As a 5-year-old, I was already into music. To the best of my recollection, I used to get even like stickers from my kindergarten classroom teacher that were like musical notes or musical instruments. And my parents would tell me how I'd sort of sing in the crib. So I was literally, and I mean this literally, born loving music, born wanting to be a musician, but truly found out that I loved or wanted to be a musician when Thriller came out. Because I'd play my parents' records at home. I love toys, but I played records. As a kid, that was my favorite thing, was to play records. And so when Thriller came out, it was my first, like big people's record. It was my first grown-up album because, I had cartoon character storybook type of records for 5-year-olds, you know what I mean? So that's how I knew I wanted to make music. So I literally would write songs and sing them, and I'd pretend to be either a drummer or a guitarist or whatever. Anytime I listened to music, Michael or otherwise, I'd be pretending I was the artist making a video or being live on stage, whatever it was. But when I was 10 years old and I went on a camping trip as part of it was a school camping trip, and I was in grade 4, and this will be an interesting story for you. So when I was younger, I had asthma. I still do, but it's nothing these days. When I was younger, it's a little bit worse. And I had an asthma attack during this camping trip. Me and nature were not friends back in the day, bro. But this particular incident, man, I was keeping up my entire cabin. And the cabin had a bunch of different groups in it. We were put into groups from different kids from different classes. And for some reason, someone had come up with the idiotic idea to have all of the children's medication in one cabin, meaning not the cabin where the kids were. So my puffer was not even in the cabin with me. Someone else was keeping it. So I'm there coughing my head off. And my teacher had to send some other kid to another cabin to get my puffer, to come back with the puffer, to give me the puffer. And when I finally took it and was able to calm down, all the kids were up. I couldn't tell you what time of night this was. So my teacher, my grade 4 teacher, Mr. Nash, for whatever reason, decides to calm everybody down. I want you guys to relax. I'm going to play some music. That was his get these kids back to sleep for some reason. and I guess I do know the reason since I'm giving you this story. He decided to play the License to Ill album by the Beastie Boys,
Oh,
and I
classic.
fell in love. That was it. I
Yeah.
was like, I mean, MJ has always been my favorite artist, as once since I was 5. But I'm telling you, I knew what my calling was after I heard that tape. I immediately after that trip found License to Ill, and then literally any other cassette tape I could find, from Run DMC to Public Enemy, you name it. If it was hip hop, I wanted it. And that was my first foray into hip hop, because almost right away, bro, I started writing rhymes. As a 10-year-old, I just gave it a shot. So
Mm,
I've spent almost zero time as a hip hop fan and not a hip hop writer. They went hand in hand for me because I already knew I wanted to be a professional musician. So
mm.
discovering the Beastie Boys at age 10 made me start writing raps. And to your point, 3 years later, I found myself on a contest, a rap off contest on Electric Circus, which was a city TV dance program every Saturday afternoon.
Oh, I
And
remember,
winning
man.
that contest, and that by the way is available on YouTube. So anyone out there wants to YouTube "Can't Test Me," Danny O and Lindo P, partners in rhyme. That's the Electric Circus performance that really set my career in motion.
Oh, dude, and it's pretty prodigious because the way you're rapping on that contest at 13, you got this like fast rap, like Big Daddy Kane, like ba da ba ba ba
Oh
ba
yeah.
ba. That's impressive. You're a child and you're rapping at like proficiently like an adult. It's mind boggling. You don't think, oh, that guy's 13.
Yeah, brother. It was Thank you. It was all influence, man. Like you said it. Big Daddy Kane became my favorite rapper. So I told you I got into it, but as the years passed and I developed this taste for hip hop, and I love so many different artists, but Big Daddy Kane was my favorite. I loved Cool G Rap,
Yeah.
Rakim. Those heavy lyrical guys at the late '80s and early '90s
Oh man.
were my biggest influences. So literally, if and when you ever, to the audience, when you check it out on YouTube, you'll see I got a big flat top cameo the same way that Big Daddy Kane did back then. I was literally right on down to the beat, which is an emulation of his Set It Off record, my all-time favorite hip hop record.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way. I was biting the hell out of Big Daddy Kane. I was just trying to be Big Daddy Kane. And
Well,
that's how I got it started.
Well, they say that about a lot of writers in general. Like even the Gonzo writer Hunter S. Thompson, he used to write like other great novelists. He would just he would literally cover what they. Now you're not covering Big Daddy Kane. You're doing your own original rap in that, but you're kind of
Yeah,
like emulating his style. And a lot of
for
masters,
sure.
writing masters, do that. Like Hunter S. Thompson was emulating the style of I think. F. Scott Fitzgerald, literally just like covering his pages and typing them on the typewriter to feel the flow
Yeah.
of how that great writer did what they did. And then from there, he's like one of the most original writers. There's no doubt about it. And I think you really found your voice. And we will get into this later, especially now. I like where your voice is now in terms of the subjects you're talking about. But going back to when you were younger, what I was really fascinated with was starting so young, getting on TV,
Mhm.
getting adulation, getting documentaries made about you and Monolith and just other rappers at the time. You're still in high school. What's it like, being a student, but at the same time, like, oh yeah, there's a documentary crew here shooting me and my boys freestyle outside of the school.
Yeah, that was interesting, man, because when I was on Electric Circus, I went on there with my brother Lindo P. Lindo P was a few years older than me and was in high school already. So we went to the same high school, but I hadn't even started high school yet. He had met me at like birthday parties. Like he would DJ at like elementary school birthday parties, and I'd rap at these parties. So he discovered me, and so when I did start high school, I started high school the September after. So basically, the Electric Circus performance was in May of '91. Following that summer was my start in high school. So everyone knew Lindo in the high school, of course, and then the kid who Lindo was on TV with was now in the high school. So I
Yeah.
kind of had this almost quasi celebrity introduction to high school, and I
That's
started high
amazing.
school as this kid who was on TV a few months ago, and it was kind of cool. But bro, it was also a little weird, bro, because I got my first taste of like tabloid celebrity life. I had people, I remember this girl asked me, oh, you're Daniel, right? Yeah. And like, oh, I heard you have a kid. Bridget, I was still a virgin, bro. Like like the rumors ran wild, who I was with, who I wasn't with, crazy things like that, man. So I learned early how, hearing it through the grapevine and broken telephone and rumors and all that high school nonsense, bro. It hit me
Yeah.
quite early, but I was able to manage it fairly well. I never let that stuff really bother me and everything, but it was an interesting beginning of the high school life, man.
Definitely. I mean, and also entering high school in the 90s, man, I was so scared entering high school. I was like, oh, the bigger kids, I'm going to get bullied. But you're coming in being like, yeah, I'm in rap. I'm on TV. Lindo P's got my back. Like, I'm going to be good these four
Yeah,
years. I'm
for
going to be a
sure.
king.
It worked out, man. I mean, because I remember there was like a rap contest in school,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure if you're going to touch into this, but that's actually how the monolith started. Because when they did, I can't remember, it was a rap contest, and I remember there was a tie between myself and Grimace Love, who of course has been my brother ever since and a fellow, founder of Monolith. So that's how that all got started because I used it, bro. Like I even tell people all the time, using hip hop or at least the rhyming, portion of it in high school, bro, I got A's on so many different projects because I would create a rap presentation for it. You know what I'm saying? You name it. Religion. We went to Catholic high school,
Okay.
religion class, bro. Myself, Grimace, and Charisma, who interestingly enough collaborate on a song called Family Stays, because we're still
Yeah.
family after all these years. Together in high school, we did a song called Reconciliation, which for those who don't know is one of the Catholic sacraments.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
basically like when you can confess your sins to a priest, which is insane. But anyways, that's another
Oh,
story.
dude, that's
So
hilarious,
we
man.
did a project, a religion project on reconcile, did a whole song about it, and you name it, man. You name the class. If there was a project, I'd write raps. But yeah, man. So it was cool, man. That's the thing because high school was really when I really began cutting my teeth as an MC because I formed this crew. We originally called ourselves Lyrical Coalition, and then we joined up with another crew called the Horde. And when the two crews came together, that's what created Monolith. And we perform regularly at assemblies and like school dances, stuff like that.
Oh,
So the hip hop thing was every bit a part of my
yeah.
uh, who I was and who I am today. So high school it played a big role in high school.
Oh man, well, I know that in high school, Monolith actually affected my friends as well because I was in high school in the late '90s, early 2000s,
Mm.
and especially in the late
Okay.
'90s, you had like shiny suit rap, and like I love Biggie, and but then Puffy took over, it got really like shiny suit rappy, and when stuff like Monolith came out, it was like, yeah, this is boom bap. Like we started getting into like KRS-One in the mid '90s and stuff like that. So when we were hearing these
Right.
guys in Canada, we didn't even know your ages, but we were like, this is great that like you turn on TV, you're going to see a lot of shiny suit, and nothing against that. Like I love like the bad boy era for what it was, but it was so refreshing to have like Canadian hip hop that felt like it was so much more about the love. Like so when I checked out "Make Some Noise," your documentary, like I just
Right.
was noting like
Right.
the cipher that your friend, because I don't think you're in the cipher, but your friends are in a cipher, and it looks like it's off the top, like it's off the head. You know what I mean? Versus like a
Oh, for
pre-written
sure.
freestyle. And I was like, man, these guys are really about like the elements. I felt. I like that energy.
100%. Yeah, it was definitely freestyle. That was a huge part also of my high school life was cutting my teeth, learning how to freestyle because that's all we did in between classes, lunchtime, after school. It
Mhm.
was all off the top. To this day, if we freestyle, it's still off the top. Like that was the whole concept. And for those who may not know, Make Some Noise, and actually that too is now on YouTube. Everything's on YouTube. Was a documentary put together in '94, and MVP was a group who at the time was managed by Farley Flex, who was also managing my brothers Maestro Fresh West and Big Kish.
Mhm.
And when MVP started getting managed by them, they started getting a bunch of shows, and they were on this international compilation. But MVP was made up of YOK, my brother Botany Hill, who went by the name LC at the time, and Simo. So they became part of the crew Lyrical Coalition, and inevitably. YLK, of course, remained as a member of Monolith when we became Monolith. LC, who's also still my brother and who just happens to be a professional photographer named Courtney Cunningham, who shot all of the photos for the day it all changed. Like you see,
Mhm.
the brotherhood goes long and
Yeah.
deep. So when you watch the Make Some Noise documentary, when you see YLK, when you see LC, those remain my bros to this day. And I was just lucky enough that they were in this documentary and they had invited me to it. And my small piece of that doc, which is actually kind of funny,
Yeah.
was me. You don't see this, but I was late and I took the bus to Woburn High School in Scarborough, and I saw them filming in front of the school, and I ran off the bus and ran across the street hoping to jump in this thing, and I did, and they asked me a question about the crew, so I'm answering this question out of breath. And anyone who sees the Make Some Noise documentary will see me. I don't know. I think I was 15 or 14 or 15 years old, completely out of breath trying to answer this question. And although I did freestyle, my freestyle did not make the film because, of course, I wasn't in the group. So MVP is the focus. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was a cool piece of history to be a part of, nonetheless. But one thing I do want to say about what you said about Shiny Suit or all the different styles of
Mhm.
hip hop
Mhm.
is to understand that being from Toronto or being from Canada, and you mentioned Monolith and just being part of that crew, we were in a position where hip hop had not become so universally mainstream and so universally accepted that you could become a rapper and assume that it would be some sort of claim to fame or riches. Hip hop wasn't like that. Today it's different. I think a lot of youth get into hip hop because it's like, yo, I see superstars. I see rich people doing this. Maybe this is this is my way to make millions also. We also have the ability to say that someone from Toronto, more than one actually now,
Mhm.
is making millions making music in the world of hip hop and other forms of urban music. So when you have the Drakes and the Weekends and the people like that repping for the city, there's a different reason to even start a career. We didn't have that reason back then, bro. Our reason was just, it's like I said in the song Can't Test Me. I just wanted to be the best rapper anyone had ever heard. That was my
Yeah.
whole purpose in life at the time. So when you come into it with a different purpose, you rhyme different, your concepts are different, your flow, your whole aura, everything about your why you do it dictates the type of music you make, and how it's going to sound by comparison of the artists who at the time, you mentioned Puffy and Biggie, at the
Mhm.
time in those the early to mid 90s, that's when hip hop really started. Like, wow, we're seeing it become mainstream. We're seeing a lot more, like platinum
Yeah.
selling records and Grammy wins. And it's like, whoa, like people were paying attention to hip hop in ways they weren't previous to that.
Mhm.
I remember the era of not even seeing hip hop videos on television. Okay, back when there was much music. I remember the era before Rap City existed. And
Oh,
now
wow.
these things are things of the past. But at the time, I remember going to stores and there was no hip hop section. If you wanted to find a rap album, you'd look in R&B. So
Oh, wow.
literally, we came into it when hip hop was just becoming, a legitimately recognized musical genre that would get its own space on television,
Yeah.
radio. If you remember, in Canada, we didn't have any urban radio stations. We would fight. We
No.
were fighting for an urban radio station.
What was big back then? College radio? Was that where you would get your stuff out?
College radio, that was it. Absolutely. We got shown love on CKLN 88.1, which was Ryerson's radio station. Shouts to people like DJ X who ran a show
Yeah.
called The Power Move. You
Yeah, yeah.
know, um, I mean that's shouts to Ron Nelson, who was even who pretty much originated all that stuff. Without that, we really didn't have anywhere to showcase our music in any kind of broadcast form. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was all college radio, and slowly but surely, with hip hop growing and becoming bigger than what it was, of course, we were fortunate enough to be able to get ourselves on the Much Musics and the
Yeah.
Rap Cities that would showcase our music videos. And without grant money, we would have never shot music videos. So
Yep.
there was interesting new opportunities for us at the time, but we were nowhere near rich like
Mhm.
the other artists from the States who were showing and proving that you could become rich as a hip hop artist. It was a very interesting time to start a career.
That makes sense about grant money because so like the government was giving money for artists to make their names known and get out there.
Yeah, a lot of Canadian artists would get grant money through, and this organization still exists, Factor, or at the time there was Video Fact, and these were sort of government-run arts. I guess I'll call them arts programs that essentially offered grants to artists to help further their art. And yeah, so Video Fact, for example, we applied like crazy. We didn't always get the grants, but we did for a few songs. And of course, Dear Hip Hop was my first. So
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, I have to credit Video Fact, and I have to credit Much Music, and people like Master T, Michael
Yeah.
Williams, Namageni Iwanuka. These are people who actually helped me uh, get on television, and they my video would be played, it would be seen nationally, and then I would get on, I would do, I would host, or I would be interviewed, even perform. It was an amazing avenue for us to get on, and I credit it to this day for it helping me to be recognized by anyone, because I don't know how
Mhm.
my career would have launched without Much Music, or videos being played and interviews being done that would essentially put us on almost equal footing as any other artist that you saw on Much Music. You could literally watch, $1 million video by a big time artist, and then a Video Fact video by a Canadian artist. And it was amazing to sort of be given that platform side by side with those artists. I'll
Absolutely.
never forget when Dear Hip Hop debuted on Rap City, it followed a Shaquille O'Neal video, So
Shaquille O'Neal had some great songs back in the day too.
and it's just funny because yeah, well, that's the point, right? It's
Yeah,
not that
yeah,
he's
yeah.
recognized as like a all-time hip hop great, but Shaq is Shaq. And so
Yeah.
if Shaq's on TV and the next video's you, it's special, you know? And so that's what it was to be an artist in Canada in the mid 90s. If you were fortunate enough to be, working your music well enough to get grants and stuff.
Yeah, totally. And I like that too, watching Much Music. If you see $1 million produced like Bad Boy video, and then you see Dear Hip Hop come on, I mean, my friends, we were jumping back and forth. We did like Biggie and all that, but we also liked like the Artifacts, or like even like Ghetto Concept.
Sure.
If you remember Easy on the Motion, like
Absolutely.
Dear Hip Hop totally fits in with like any Rap City video you're gonna see from the '90s. Totally fits in. It's just more like Illmatic than like it was written. You know what I mean?
Respect. I mean, that's massive praise to have that comparison. And
Mhm.
I've always likened myself to other lyricists in the game, the Nas's, and to me, the Commons and Most Defs and stuff. So I appreciate that. To me, I let the audience determine who they like. But what's really been one of the, I guess, my Achilles heel in a way, was never having, a major, like a major label or a major push behind me, so that I could at least be put on the so-called equal footing of those artists, so people could make that decision. In other words, I might be an artist that a lot of people love, especially if you're a Nas, Mos Def, Common fan, whatever. But
Mhm.
if you've never heard of my music, I'm not going to become your favorite. And that's the tough part of this business,
Mhm.
is feeling like, hey man, I'm on the level with these cats. I say it in my lyrics. I have no problem saying, yeah, I'm on the level with these guys. But uh yeah, I've never really had that push. Um and that's why I keep pushing. I mean, this isn't me complaining. This is me saying, hey, this is just the grind that I've always been on and I continue to be on.
Mhm.
Much love to Urbnet, which in my opinion is Canada's greatest record label. They've been around for 2 decades, pushing underground hip hop artists like myself, and they continue to. And this is why artists like myself continue to make music and continue to do his best to grow and develop as an artist, because we know we make great music and there is an audience out there. So we keep trying to find those people.
Definitely, man. So then you released your first album in 2000 independently. And what I find interesting about that is that's around the time of like Napster's coming out, social media streaming
Yeah.
services. The fact that you didn't have the big record label behind you, did you find that streaming services helped or hurt your career? Because a lot of the big industry cats, they were kind of anti Napster. But you have different artists of different levels with different opinions about stuff like Napster and Kazaa back in the day.
Yeah.
What do you think about that from back then?
Yeah, it's a great question, because you have to understand too that the answer changes as the past 2 decades take place. You know what I'm saying? I can tell you that when the Book of Daniel dropped, so that's now 20 years old, 2000,
Wow.
crazy. When it dropped, I remember. So here's the thing: when it dropped, I was excited because obviously it was my first album, and when you go into an HMV and you see your CD on the shelf, as a lifelong music fan who goes to the record store to buy music, it is it's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing feeling, and you know that is gone. That doesn't happen anymore. So let me do my best to answer the question. Over the course of 20 years, I remember bumping into someone way back then, because I would also sell CDs hand to hand, which I still do. right? That old
Wow,
school
cool.
part of me is still going to cater to the old school fans out there who want CDs and vinyl because
Yeah.
we still make them. And I remember bumping into someone who said, "Oh yeah, man, I have your new album. I downloaded it." At the time, downloading meant they just found it on a website and got it for free. This we didn't actually have, platforms in place like say iTunes or whatever, so that you could download the album. So
Yeah.
to me, I took it as a diss because I'm like, I spent all this time, energy, and money creating this music, and you got it for free. So I felt dissed.
Mhm.
In retrospect, I look at it like, look, there was HMVs and other record stores for that matter, music stores, where I found my CD for like $24.99.
Oh,
We
wow, and
we
you
didn't determine the price.
yeah.
The store determines the price, right? I found it for other prices too, but I'm like, I remember saying like, shit, I wouldn't pay $24.99. So I kind of understood it, but it took time for it to grow on me, Will. Like it was tough to this is when I really started learning the ins and outs of the music industry as an artist who was looking to make a career because I'm spending money, I'm spending time, I'm spending energy, I'm looking to make a career out of this, and I'm not making it back because the value that people place on music is starting to diminish. And by 2004, I'd released my second album, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. And at the time, I put out what I called a street album or a mixtape called Speak No Evil, which was the follow up album, which had a few remixes and unreleased tracks on it. And I subtitled it The Last of Danny O. I actually had it in my head that I was just done. I was
Oh,
tired and I was
wow.
finished. Now, I never really had the quit in me. I wasn't officially giving up, but I kind of wanted to make a statement about how done I was with the music business, right?
Yeah.
And I'll spare you the long story, but the point is, it took a few years. I mean, I started a podcast, I started teaching, I started acting. A lot of things happened in that little hiatus. And it was a mental hiatus more than anything of being disenfranchised with the music industry. And then I started writing lyrics at a heavier pace about 5 years later, and eventually put out the Dilla Pickles mixtape. Now, anyone who goes to danio.com, dan-e-o.com, can download this for free. It's a tribute to Jay Dilla, God bless him, and I just rhyme over his beats. Making that project, Will, changed everything for me mentally and emotionally because I
Yeah.
wasn't doing it for money. The whole purpose was to tribute Jay Dilla. The whole purpose was to let people download it for free. A decade earlier, I was mad when people were downloading my music for free.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at downloading for free as a way to get my music out there to more listeners, right? I'm
Yeah.
starting to understand the concept of mixtapes and all that sort of stuff. And looking at the industry a little bit differently. So not only was I looking at songwriting differently and not getting mad about the industry standards, you called it shiny suit rap earlier, like
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
looking at other artists and their success as my downfall, but instead looking at my own place in this industry as being unique, as belonging to me. It's not, I don't have to worry about what other artists are doing. So I didn't. I stopped worrying. I wrote rhymes to Jay Dilla's beats. I had no intention of making a project until I was about 4 or 5 songs in. And then I said, screw it. I'm going to record all these and just put it out for free. After
Nice.
that, the Perfect Strangers album, the Inevitable album, everything I did after that, I did it in a different way. I did it with just love of the music, just love of the artistry, being honest, being vulnerable in my raps. Basically, I grew up and
Yeah.
started looking at the industry differently. So, to answer your question more specifically, that's when I started going downloading and streaming, which, by the way, now it's about streaming. We've actually exited the downloading era and now everyone's streaming music. I now look at it as a plus where all those years ago I'd be like, what do you mean you're listening to my music for free? No,
How
now
dare
it's like,
you?
okay, go and stream it. I mean, I get it. We don't make tons of money off streaming, that's for sure. But the fact that I can put out an album today, literally, and have people listen to it in Japan, in Spain, in literally wherever you are in the world. And I mentioned those two countries because I have a Japanese producer on the album who's plugging it out there. I got family in Spain and they're bumping it out there. Like
Oh,
that's
nice.
amazing. You're not having necessarily to ship CDs, which is also very costly. And
Mhm.
I've done that. I spent a lot of time, bro. I used to spend. I can tell you, I've spent so much time in the parking lots of post offices shipping or packaging up, envelopes with vinyl and bios, bro. We used to
Yeah.
type out pages of like bio material with photos and press release photos. Man, so the digital world
Yep.
has obviously made all that obsolete. I don't have to send these crazy packages out. And now at the click of a button on your phone, no less, you can hear my whole album if you want. So I'm definitely not mad at it. I'm still old school in a way that I'd like to have physical copies of projects. In fact, the Lockdown Remixes project is my first full length that won't have any physical copies because it is a remix album. It's what I'm saying, and it is a double album, by the way. It's 20 cuts, so 20 songs, man. I would need two CDs and two, maybe four vinyls to.
Yeah.
So things have changed, and I've learned to embrace it.
Yeah, man, and I gotta say, I really respect the maturity on your more recent releases, just how the writing has changed. And I didn't know you took off such a gap of time, but it seems like you came back able to reinvent yourself.
For sure, man.
And I want to talk about your latest album in 2019, The Day It All Changed. It's a beautiful album, man. It's all about. It reminds me of like it's so mature. Like it reminds me of like 444 or like Nas's new release because you're a grown man on it. You're talking all about your daughter, and this is different than that. It's all about your daughter. It's a great concept, and it's rare that I'd say hip hop is like beautiful would be the first word that comes to mind. But I was like, no, this is like beautiful. You know what I mean?
Thank you, man. Thank you, bro. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's huge praise. I appreciate that.
Well, I was gonna say, I wanted to ask about track one. You say on My Heart, you say I only started living the day that you were given life. So I wanted to know if you could reflect on
Yes.
like how fatherhood has changed you as an artist.
My bro, firstly, let me just tell you how much I appreciate you, man, because I've been doing interviews since I was a teenager, and there is never a better question than when someone quotes your lyrics directly and asks you to elaborate. I cannot
uh,
tell you how much I appreciate that as a songwriter and as a lyricist. Thank you for the question.
hey,
No
yeah.
questions are better to me. So
Mhm.
thank you for that. Secondly, fatherhood has changed me completely because I mean the album the album I had to title it that because that's literally my comment. That's the statement I'm making throughout the record. It has all changed, man.
Yeah, yeah.
When you become a father, are you a parent yet? By the way.
No, 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 no.
Okay. So it's interesting, right? Because there are people like yourself who don't have kids, and there are people who have kids, and they have very interesting interpretations of this album. To other parents, of course, they're like, wow, this, it completely resonates. And I think for non-parents, I think, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, for yourself personally,
Mhm,
I think
mhm,
it helps give an entirely new perspective on what it means to be a parent. Because for me, everything's changed because literally every decision I make in life, I think about her first. Um, I think about right on down to the language I use, even, bro. Like,
mhm,
um, there's 10 cuts on the album, only 3 have cursing in it. And just,
mm.
I have my personal reasons as to why those 3 songs are written the way they are. Um, I look at the political the landscape, and what a time we're in right now,
Oh, yeah.
with respect to looking at things like racism and injustice and police brutality. There's a song on the album about that. So all of the concepts really come from being a father first, how this impacts my little girl, what I need to do as a top priority in my life, which of
Mhm,
course is protecting her, nurturing her, making sure she's safe, happy, healthy. um, it's her, as I say in Vertebrae, like her life means more than mine. So it really has completely changed everything. But I got to tell you, obviously for the better, because man, when you live for somebody else, and when you can look at another human being and go, wow, I actually helped make her. Like,
yeah,
it's I don't know, I can't speak for other parents, but I get regularly overwhelmed just
yeah.
looking at my child, being with her, hanging with her. And then when I see her mannerisms and the things that she's learned from me, and the things about her that are like me,
Mm.
and just the love she has for me. We have such a strong relationship. She's such an amazing kid, and I'm definitely
Yeah.
blessed because she's funny, she's
Oh, she's
smart.
very funny. She's doing skits on the album that had me laughing. She's
Yeah,
got
man,
great timing. I
for
don't know if you
sure.
rehearsed that stuff or it just came out.
Thank you. Yeah. No, that's a great question. The skits on the album are 100% not rehearsed. We literally turned the microphone on and talked. We talked for maybe 10, 15 minutes or something like that. And so what you hear on the album are just little snippets from an entire conversation that I thought those snippets made the most sense to be placed on the album where they were placed. So no, nothing written at all. Whatever we
Yeah.
say, we were saying, I might ask her something. Whatever she said was completely off the cuff. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
she's
yeah.
and let me tell you, man, she's a singer, she's a dancer, she's a rapper. So it's a real thrill on a day-to-day basis to see how she's growing. And whatever it is I'm doing as a dad is my most is my are my proudest achievements. Long way after I say this in Deadbeat, I used to care about MCs. I really don't, and that's how I can make music now with so much of a
Yeah.
freer spirit. I'm not
Yeah.
looking at how do I become the next rich rapper or how do I get the most fans ever. I wrote this record, this entire album, really not caring if anyone else liked it. It was that important to me. Of course, in the hopes that, other people will like it too. But it was just so important to me to say what I wanted to say. And yeah, I've never written anything that means more to me. And I think that
Yeah.
comes through. So, yeah.
Honestly, man, I can't remember the last album I listened to that had so much vulnerability and honesty. We talked about it earlier, like within the industry and how you were feeling, like you weren't really getting the platform, and then you touch on that with all the hurt.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
I was going to ask, like, because you're from an earlier era, I personally like that you bring in more of the elements of hip hop. Like, you have a lot of cutting and scratching on the record,
Yes,
and you have a
for
lot
sure.
of kind of like, you're cutting up like KRS and stuff like this, and like,
Yes.
but you're also bringing in this maturity, which is to me very relatable. Even without having a kid, I can kind of imagine what it would be like. And records like that shift my focus from being like, having a responsibility of a child can be a freedom, because you're not all about, like you were saying, you're not all about you anymore. It's like, oh yeah,
Right.
it's not about like who likes me, what their opinion of me is. It's like, no, I have a mouth to feed, I have a person to protect,
100%.
and I'm an
100%.
artist. And you know what I mean? And you probably, I don't know, maybe you like dilly dally less. I don't know if that ever happened for you, but when like someone is not working hard enough, I feel like if you have a kid, there's no bullshitting. You're working, you're there. I don't know if you ever had an issue with that, but I mean, I think it would increase motivation to work hard.
Well, 100% agree with you. I've always been highly motivated, everything that I do. So I don't know that having a kid made me more motivated, although I will say that actually, yeah, it probably goes without saying that even as motivated as I've always been, yes, it does. It has made me more motivated, but also it makes me even more bewildered at parents who aren't. I mean, I touch upon that in Deadbeat as well, like how you can
Yeah.
have a child and not have your child be your number one, how you can not have your child motivate you to do things that are going to be beneficial for your life, your child's life. I just don't understand that. I truly don't. And so, yeah, she's been a great motivation, but I am happy to say that somehow, some way, I've always found a way to get myself up to do this. Now I'll take breaks, mental breaks, emotional breaks, so to speak, because it requires a lot of energy, especially the type of writer I am. I like to sit down with my music and like devote hours to perfecting a verse or something like that.
Yeah.
But also, I appreciate what you said and wanted to mention that, I really truly appreciate you digging into the album this way before the
It's a
interview,
great
man. That
album.
you're in a class of your own. A lot of people don't they don't do the proper research, but you're saying things almost as if I wrote your questions for you, bro. Because I'm telling
No,
you,
no.
I'm so
Well,
appreciative that you heard what this album was. While it is a mature take on being a father in his 40s, it is still as hip hop as I've ever been, in that I had to dedicate space on this record to things like cuts and to just boom bap beats and to lyricism. So yeah, those elements remain there, and they are coupled with, just being a grown up, man, and talking about grown up
yeah,
shit. And
yeah.
and so that's why I mean, it's easily my favorite record that I've ever done. So I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you picked out some of those things that I really wanted to have on the record. It was important for me to do that.
And well, yeah, I think there's a lane for it now. I think that people, hip hop is, I don't
Mhm.
know how, 50, 40 years old, whatever, and people are growing up, and it was usually sort of like a young man's game. Um, But all these legends started getting older and they didn't run out of things to say, and they had more things to say. You know, back to like a good novelist, a lot of these people are writing their best works when they're 50, when they're 60, and rap, especially stuff you're doing, is like storytelling. Or I always think of writing letters when I listen to your stuff, from Dear Hip Hop to the, what was the one about Trump?
Born to be.
Yeah, Born to Be.
Born to be.
That opening verse, it's like I picture you writing a letter, and I just feel like
Yeah,
the older you get, the deeper your letter writing and your communication is going to get. Like your verses, basically, is what I mean.
for
But
sure.
yeah, it's exciting. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And it's going to help you, for me anyways. It's empowering to be vulnerable, you know what I'm saying? Like there was a time when, when you're younger and you're so worried about like other people's opinions and stuff, you're always trying to play it cool. You
hmm
want to be cool. For me, and I really began exploring this on my Inevitable album, because half of the album is about like love relationships and and being hurt. And the thing is, sometimes as men, we don't use the word hurt. We're pissed off, we're angry, we'll call a woman names and shit. Like that puts us back into being cool. So after we're hurt, we lose a relationship or something happens, whatever, we all play it off. And on that album, I decided, yeah, that's not the route I'm going to take. I'm going to admit that I've gone through some pain for this, that, and the third reason. In retrospect, I'll say that the songs on that album that discuss pain uh, don't come anywhere close to what real pain is. And to me, that's like losing family, and that's like having anything happen with your child. But
yeah,
I was happy that I took that turn on Inevitable to say, listen, as a grown man, I can say that I've grown and developed and changed my way when it comes to approaching relationships, because we experience heartache also. And so
mhm,
that's the thing with growing up and making what I call grown man rap, is like you can write raps, which I still think are super solid raps. Some of my favorite raps are on that album, and be like, hey, you know what? I'm not trying to be a cool guy on
yeah,
this record. You know what I'm saying? And I'm okay with that. I'm grown up enough to be okay with that. And to me, that makes some of the best music. I mean, you talked about Common being one of your favorites earlier. He's a king
yeah,
at that.
yeah.
He's so poetic, but he can express pain in ways that, like, don't make him soft. Yeah, I think
hmm
that makes you a realer man. And
hmm
I'm influenced by stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. And you get to a certain age where, someone could see it as soft, but again, it's everyone has an opinion, and I know what I like. You know what I mean? I just know what works for me, what stage I'm in.
Exactly,
You
man.
know?
You know what you like. You know what you like, and you know who you are. So to me, you can have an opinion.
hmm
I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't be doing this interview if you didn't like my music, but if your opinion was, "Hey, I heard your new album and it sucks." Today I'm like, "You're entitled to your opinion. Don't
hmm
listen to the shit then."
hmm
Like that's how I would respond today. 10, 15 years ago, or back when, like I said, doing the first couple albums, I would have taken offense. I would
Yeah,
have actually cared about your opinion. And I'd be like, I can't understand how you couldn't like it, but you do like. And then, of course, list any artist that you don't like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand how your opinion. Today, I've let go of so much. There's still a lot of people like they don't understand why people like this, why people like that. They're complaining.
yeah,
Hey, look, Cardi B's got the number one record in the country, and it's all about her wet ass pussy. I stopped worrying
yeah.
about stuff like that. Okay, you know what I mean? Fine. That whoever likes it, good for them.
Fire video,
Chances are
fire video.
they probably, yeah, exactly. They probably won't like my music. Then again, maybe they will. Because you know what? The thing I think we forget is we all like different types of music. I don't just listen to hip hop. In fact, I
Exactly.
usually don't. So
Yeah,
we're allowed to like different things, and we're allowed to have differences of opinion. I'm pretty sure that if you and I eventually got into a hip hop conversation, we started listing our favorite rappers, we'd probably have several in common, and then we'd have several be like, "Really? I don't like
yeah,
that dude."
yeah.
You're allowed. That's okay. That's the beauty of music, right? Like you're supposed to feel different things. Sometimes you put on certain music because you got a lady coming over. Another time you put on music because you're angry. Another time you put on music because you're working out. You put on different music at a party, right? Like all these different types of music belong in certain parts of your life, certain aspects of it. They're used for different things. Music can make you relax. Music can get you up on your feet. It does
Yeah.
everything in between as well. So, whatever my music is, I hope that whoever digs it, they use it for what it it works for them. You know what I'm saying? If you like bumping it in your ride, cool. If you can work out to it, amazing. If you just like chilling to it, great. You want to take in the lyrics, whatever it is. I just know that that's what I am capable of making, and that's why I make it. And I don't get mad if you don't like it or you like shit that I don't like. That's the biggest difference between starting out and being grown is, man, when you just let it go, just let it
Yeah.
go. It's so much easier and it's so much more fun and so much more rewarding.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude. Absolutely, man. Um, I wanted to ask you about like your writing technique for one. If you have anything that you do, like I heard like Guru from Gangstar, apparently he would like write the track name before writing the
Yeah,
verse. So you'd say X girl, the next girl. This song will be about relationships, this, that, or the other. You hear stuff about like Biggie didn't write stuff
right,
down, or the way Wayne would record, like stop
right.
and you know what I mean. Do you have a specific like what's your technique? What's your method?
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I do have a technique and I've long used it, even though it has definitely changed and grown over the years. First of all, I'll tell you this, and I actually teach songwriting, so I'm going to throw out some of my free songwriting class tips.
Nice.
Something that I always do, Will, and I mean literally always do, and I've done it since I was a teenager.
Mhm.
Before I write a song, I write the alphabet down. I write the
Oh,
entire alphabet on a piece of paper. Today, I actually do it on my desktop computer. When I used to put pen to paper, same thing. So the process hasn't changed, even if the medium has. And that alphabet is my rhyming template. So you could throw any word out in the world, and I will look at an alphabet and within a few seconds come up with, I don't know, at least a dozen words that rhyme with it, just because seeing the letters, I know the letters, we all know the letters, but
hmm,
seeing the letters makes a difference. I can literally tell you, I can tell you that I literally feel as if the words pop out and I
wow,
start writing them down because I can see the letters. And so whatever the word is or the concept or the idea that I have, looking at the letters helps me translate it either to, like I said, to rhyme or just something else that goes with. So I put
wow.
down the alphabet as a rhyming template. Um, if I don't have the title, I don't always have the title, but
Mhm.
sometimes, similar to Guru, if I have the concept, I write that down too. So that kind of helps me keep focus. I know what I'm writing about. The beat always comes first. I let the beat usually decide. It might sound weird, but I let the beat decide what I'm rhyming about. I feel like the music has to be married to the vocals. I can't just rhyme the same thing on every different beat. Different beats make me feel different ways. So playing the music out loud for sure, having that template, the concept in front of me, the alphabet in front of me. I will usually, although I sit down to write, very often I get up out of my seat. So it's as if I'm performing already to see how that feels as I'm writing the lyrics.
Oh, wow.
I go over the lyrics. I go over the lyrics a lot, meaning I don't just write bars down. I will write down all the, like I said, say it could be the rhyming words, whatever, and
Mhm.
I will literally use like arrows or just connect the words in ways that make those bars before I write the bar down. So I don't write down a bar and say that I'm finished. I come up with the bar
Mhm.
and come up with a bar that goes with it. And sometimes I need four or five or six in a row to make sure that they meld together properly
Mhm.
before I actually write them out in long form, if that makes sense. So it is quite a process for me, and it's just I'm so used to it because I've been doing it for what feels like forever that I continue to, even out of maybe even superstition, if I sit down, like I have to put the alphabet there just to make sure it's there. This is the way it works, and then just go in. So writing has become second nature to me. I love doing it, but I also love to devote time to it properly.
Mhm.
um and sometimes that's the hardest thing, is finding the time. But yeah, those are essentially major pieces of my writing process.
Nice. And are you writing? Have you been writing recently? Anything you care to talk about in that regard, or?
Yeah, I have a few new songs are sort of under my belt, just in terms of them being written.
Mhm.
I think I mentioned Sky to Cook and Jacks from Japan, who not only has a remix on the Lockdown Remixes album, he has his own album still, which is out on vinyl and cassette, no less. Like I said, out in Japan and online, so you can stream it. I got 2 tracks on that album, and I started writing some new songs for a project that I am starting with him. I don't know if it's going to be a
Oh,
full
cool.
project or whatever, but we're doing some new stuff. I've also just started on a collabo project with some other artists for a song that specifies sort of the whole Black Lives Matter
Yeah.
concept, the idea of police brutality, injustice, equality. That's a concept that I've been
Oh,
writing a
nice.
lot about. So yeah, so new music is in the works,
Yeah.
slowly but surely getting written. A few of these things that I mentioned to you have already been recorded. So some of them are features. I've done a bunch of features.
Mhm.
There's a record that I wrote with a rapper named Ranaman out of Madrid, Spain,
Yeah.
which I'm looking forward to because apparently Ranaman has gotten a ton of MCs on this project, including people. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this, but
Mhm.
I think he's even putting it out there. Master Ace and Keith Murray and
Wow.
Onyx
What?
and yeah, so people like that are on his album. He's from Madrid, Spain. His name is
Wow.
Ranaman, and he got me on a track. And not only is the track dope, I mean, he raps in Spanish, of course, but
Yeah.
he just literally informed me that the album is getting finished, and his album cover is apparently going to have the faces of all of his features. So I'm just wowed by the fact that I'm going to be part of something that includes all of those names and that I mentioned and others that I haven't even mentioned. So yeah, between features and new music, I'm
Yeah.
keeping pretty busy, man.
Oh man, that sounds tremendous.
Yeah, it's working on it, working on it.
Nice, dude. I would love to see
Yeah, man.
like a lineup like the Northern Touch lineup. Get you in there definitely, and but basically on the issues of today. Because if you remember, like Northern Touch back in the day, like that was such a uplifting song, fun energy, and you got all this Toronto talent. But like you see what's going on now. The energy is different than back then. It's a lot. There's a lot of heaviness right now. There's a lot of fucked up shit going
Yeah,
on,
man.
and I'd love to see like you and like Cardi and like Choclair and like whoever else, just like come in and just sort of speak on what's going on now.
100%, man. I mean, there really isn't an issue that I can think of that's more important, especially right now. Um, More of my music will be focused on that, obviously, and I would say the I don't know, months and years to come, I guess. But yeah, it would be great to do that. I mean, hip hop is the culture of the stop the violence movement. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So, and fight the power and f the police. Like, that's what hip hop was, and I believe still very much strongly is all about. So I would be happy to collaborate. I'm not mentioning only because I don't know if I can yet, but I have actually participated in one collaboration, as I mentioned, that will involve some artists that you know, and that's the concept of
Nice.
the song. Hopefully, more of that is going to take place.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever going to be a time where this is not a relevant topic or not an important topic for obvious reasons. I just hope, of course, that as we continue to create this art, that we can hopefully create change, and that's what's really needed. And I hope this will actually be an example of change that is going to truly make a difference, man. Because I was telling someone the other day, like, imagine that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in the '60s over this shit,
Mhm.
and here we are in 2020, and it's what have we changed, what have we
Yeah.
fixed? I even put it to this person, like, imagine, and God knows what this is like, right? But just imagine for a second that the afterlife is a place where you have no idea what's going on earth, so you can exist in spiritual form but you don't know what alive people are doing. Right? And then one day you're able to cross through and see what it's like, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., after 50 plus years, says,
Yeah.
let me go check out the world. And in 2020, he sees what's going on. I can't imagine. I can't imagine how disgusted he would be.
Oh
You
man.
feel me? Like
Yeah.
it just, when I put it in that perspective, it really hit me how insane it is for us to still have to say, hey, we're all human beings. We kind of all deserve equal treatment. We should all be respected as humans and treat each other the same. And there should be equality across the board, whether it's with respect to, like, the job search or the way in which police handle us. And
Mhm.
we're not there. We're not there yet. But you know what? My hope, like I said, is that we're bringing about change that will actually make a difference, because we are seeing things like pro sports leagues taking a stand, especially the
Yeah.
NBA. We're seeing protests in ways that we haven't, I think, in our lifetime. So
And we're seeing more injustices too. I feel like social media has brought light to the problem more because, like, if you think of like Rodney King in the 90s, like someone caught him on video in the 90s being beat down. But in the 90s, having a video camera was like super rare. So now we're seeing what had
Yeah,
been happening
exactly.
all along because everyone's got a camera and they're going, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And you think it's going to
Yeah.
stop. You think like, oh, this is the last one. This can't happen again. And then nope, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, nope, keeps happening, keeps happening. Yeah, it's crazy
No,
times. And yeah.
yeah. No, you're 100% right, and I think that's the craziest part about it is what social media and our smartphones are exposing is that this shit has always happened. It just hasn't been recorded with the frequency that it's being recorded now. Literally everyone has a video camera,
Mm-hmm.
aka your smartphone, in your pocket to record this stuff and expose it within seconds. We can all record something and upload it online within seconds. And that is the crazy part of it, man, is, you know, this has always been going on, Will. It has always been going on. We're just seeing it more now. Think about all of the protests that are taking place. They take place after the videos come out. We don't know about all of these different people being murdered until it's being shown to us. And that is the craziest and saddest part is that really the only thing that's changed is the technology. And God willing, that's what's going to help bring about the difference that we keep talking about. Because I don't know what more proof people need that
Yeah.
shit ain't fair and that shit ain't
Oh yeah.
right. I don't know what more evidence you require. And unfortunately, we're not going to change everybody. There are devils amongst us, bro. When you can be someone who is literally pro murder,
Mm-hmm.
you're pro murder. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you can look at people being shot the way they are, or having George Floyd's neck kneeled upon for nearly 9 minutes, if you can look at that and still come up with an excuse,
Mm-hmm.
some kind of ridiculous drawing at straws rationale for why that was justified, you're
Yeah.
just an evil person. You're a mean spirited, horrible, racist piece of trash. That's it. And
Yeah.
some people are like that, and there's not much we can do. What we need to do is hopefully, compel the rest of decent society in saying, we can all do something about this. So let's actually do it instead of just talking about it, because we can't have this be our world. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? We cannot have life be like this, because it is that way. And I think for some people, they didn't think it was like that. And those are the people that I think we can compel. Those are the people I think we can save, who are like, maybe they weren't racist, so they're a non-racist, but they weren't necessarily anti-racist because they're of the mind that, well, that was a long time ago. And now they're like, you know what? It really wasn't a long time ago. This is still happening, and they still hate in ways that is taking their lives. And I'm not going to stand for it anymore. When people can do that,
Yeah.
and I think more people are doing that. That's why I'm saying when we see, the leagues and even right on down to the NFL who vilified Colin Kaepernick years ago, and now, it's like even they're kind of getting it. So it's a slowly but surely type of process, but God willing, it is a process that will continue, because it should not be this way. It should have never been this way to begin with, but it is. So wake up, people, if you haven't woken up yet, because we're not standing for the shit
Yeah, man. And
anymore, and we should never have.
there's definitely like privilege in the world. And when I see these videos and all these experiences, and I think, wow, like I've never been treated like this, by cops as like as a white guy,
Exactly.
and it's good that we're talking about this stuff because like we can pretend like, or not even pretend, we could just not really know what's going on. And that, but now, no, you got to know what's going on, and you got to take pause and think about what you
For
what
sure,
you
man.
have and what someone else doesn't have just based on the color of skin. It's ridiculous, but you know.
Absolutely. And be a human being, man. Have
Mhm.
compassion. Have compassion. If you see a man get shot in the back at point blank range 7
Oh
times,
man, yeah, that's fucking
and you
crazy.
can't feel an ounce of compassion for that human being, and you're making up all kinds of shit. He must have had a weapon, or I heard he was a rapist. Like, they've come up with everything they can come up with to
Hmm.
justify that. And on top of that, 2 days later, some 17-year-old white youth crosses state lines with an AR-15 and murders 2 people, and you're
Yeah,
coming up with excuses for why that was justified. Like, you have to be the devil. You
yeah,
have to be. It's insane. So learn to be a human being. Have
yeah.
compassion. Understand that murder is wrong,
Hmm.
okay? And that we all deserve the same type of dignity and respect simply by way of us being human beings. Once
Yeah.
you cross the line and you've broken the law, like that kid did,
Hmm.
then you deserve whatever you're supposed to get. You know what I'm saying? Because yeah, people
Hmm.
people should be able to protect their homes the way Breonna Taylor's boyfriend was trying to protect the home
Yeah.
when they murdered his girlfriend by breaking down the door and shooting the place up. Like, you know, give me a break, man.
Yeah, that like unannounced warrant thing they were doing. Like I think there, it's like you got the states, right? Like they carry guns, and then but the cops had this weird. What I learned about was like the warrant, like they can open up a door without announcing anything. That's a recipe for disaster, man. Like people in the states, like you're saying, they're gonna protect their homes. They're gonna do all this
It
shit.
is, and then there's a whole other thing too, which we definitely don't have the time for. But I've also been anti-gun, and this is exactly one of those reasons why is that you know and by the way, like it's a hard conversation to get into right now because it's so weighty, but there's so much talk about the right to bear arms and having guns. Okay, fine. And then there's so many times where that gun is what got people killed. So Philando Castile was sitting there going, I have a license to carry a gun and I have a gun on me. The police lost his mind and shot him up dead. Like,
Mm.
even Daniel Schaefer, who was not a black man, was they called the police on him because they thought he had a gun. They looked through the window of his hotel room and said he had a gun. Guy came, cops came. Daniel Schaefer did not have a gun on him. They shot him dead anyways. It's like, yo, what's the point of calling it a freedom when you're not
Mm-hmm.
free to have it? Because you could get killed.
Mm-hmm.
And people have, and especially when you're black, it just keeps happening. They'll find any, oh, he had a gun, oh, he had a knife, oh, a knife now is a reason to shoot someone. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
it's insane. It's insane. It's
Yeah.
backward. It makes no sense. It is evil. And so I can't get into the old gun thing, but it's like, man,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, bro, I don't own a gun, but I got news for you. I have been angry enough in my lifetime
Mm-hmm.
that if I did have one, maybe something bad would have happened. Good thing I don't have one. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro,
Yeah.
it's insane. It's insane. And by the way, I 100% agree that a person should be able to protect his or her home. It's your home. No one should be
Mm-hmm.
breaking in there. You should that 100%. But the second you leave your home, as this kid did with a gun, you're looking to kill somebody. And even if you're not, you just might if you get angry enough because it keeps happening.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, man.
And these
Absolutely, dude.
and these cops with guns, and like, of course I understand why police are supposed to be armed. They're not using them the way they were trained. There's no way they were trained to use them that way. Of course you're supposed to have them. You're supposed to protect the public. You're supposed to be
Yeah.
stopping crime. But when a person is
Oh yeah.
unarmed and not committing a crime, and you decide it requires 7 bullets, something's wrong. Something's wrong.
Definitely, man. I
When a
could
woman
not
is
agree more.
sleeping in her bed and you smash through the door, guns a blazing, something's wrong.
Mm.
Something's
Absolutely.
wrong. But I hope we change it. We have to change it. Never mind hope. That has to change. So yeah, brother.
Yeah. Fuck. Jeez. Yeah. Like, man, scary time.
Fuck
I
is
don't even. I
right.
don't even know. Like, I don't even know what what to add. But yeah, like it's good to
Yeah,
see people with a voice, like artists, athletes, stepping up, politicians, anybody that's finally stepping up and saying something, man. And I'm happy to hear that you're working on a project on that of substance. It'll be great to see when it comes out.
for sure, man. I mean, I had a lot of people tell me that I should be writing about that stuff, but I didn't even need them to tell me that. This is where my heart is at. I don't know how your heart could not be in this place. And, uh, do I think all music needs to address it? Of course not. I said earlier, different music for different reasons. We need to feel good. We need to feel happy. We need to find ways to enjoy life. And sometimes music, of course, that has nothing to do with the subject, is going to help with that. But as a hip hop artist who's always been very, very passionate about the subject matter, it'll play a stronger role. It's been in my music, but it'll certainly play a stronger role going forward. So we'll see
Oh
what
yeah.
comes of it. But like I said, more importantly than the music is the change. And let's hope that somehow that happens. And if I could help at all by using my voice, I will.
Well, dude, like continue to, because I think your voice is just getting richer and richer with expression, and there's so much power in your words, and just yeah, like taking your emotion, reflecting, and putting out content like you've been doing since you were a kid. It's amazing. Like, I
Thank
guess,
you, man.
do you feel you're put on the earth to rap?
Among other things, be Melina's father. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, if I listen, if I can't do that, I don't know what I can do as far as being a professional or as far as being an artist. 100%. Like I told you, discovered. I mean, I just my whole life has been music, and knowing that I wanted to do it professionally at 5, finding hip hop at 10, and just like never looking back. There's no question. Other than being Melina's dad, yes,
Yeah.
that's what I'm here to do.
Nice, man. Nice. Well,
A few other
I
things
wanted
too,
to
but yeah, that's a big one.
well, I wanted to ask as we leave how people can find your music, and I was also curious about that songwriting course, how people can get involved with that.
Sure, man. Well, you can definitely find all of my music anywhere that music is available. So choose your favorite streaming platform and go there. Type in Danny O. It's spelled DAN-E-O. You can, of course, go to DannyO.com, spelled the same, Dan-E-O.com. On Instagram, I'm DannyO1010. No dashes, DANEO 1010. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, DannyO10. So you type me in, you're going to find it. And I appreciate you giving me this platform to get people to find out where my music is. Because, like we said earlier, it's so much easier now for people to click a button and hear me. So I'm glad for
Yeah.
that. Appreciate it. I hope everyone digs the new project. It is brand spanking new, just came out. It is 20 brand new remixes, all from the day it all changed, 7 different producers. And yeah, very proud of it because, as we spoke about at length here, it's the most important content I've ever released. As far as the songwriting classes are concerned, obviously COVID has put a bit of uh, a wrench in that. However, I don't teach at any one specific place. I have taught everywhere from arts centers, community centers, arts programs, schools, you name it. So if you happen to be a teacher or you're in the educational system in any capacity and you're interested in having me visit your school or community center, or art program or what have you to teach songwriting, please feel free to hit me up directly. I'm at info@dannyo.com. Info@dan-e-o.com is my email address. Or, of course, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that. And we'll figure something out. Again, COVID is going to unfortunately make that not, as easy as it once was. But God
Yeah.
willing, we'll figure that out sooner than later.
Yeah, hope so. Hope so. Danny O, man, thank you so much for the time. Guys, definitely check out the album. It's fucking phenomenal. And all the best, man. I'll be seeing more of you and we'll be hearing more of you, I'm sure.
Thank you so much, man. I just want to tell you, man, this was definitely a dope interview. Easily one of my favorites ever. You've done an excellent job, and thank you for offering me the platform. Yeah, thanks,
Oh,
man.
dude. Anytime, man. Anytime. So I hope you enjoyed that talk with the great Danny O. Thanks for coming by, man. You're welcome anytime. To learn more about him, check out dannyo.com. That's Dan-E